Hold your head up, it's kasi sa spigile. The time is now today. Kuzoba mnandi, the feeling's getting stronger.
It's wonderful to have you once again on the 100% Talk Show. A very big and warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us. It seems that you want 100% talk because you are 100% real people. My name is Tembeka Filani. I am your host. Today we're going to be talking about Workers' Day. What is the significance of this day? What is the celebration? What is the history? I don't know. We have an amazing special guest today that is going to take us through. And so I would love to thank, before we continue, Ududu Nkubane from Due Confidence Designs for always making me look absolutely amazing. I would love to thank Ismo Daily Creations. Thank you so much, Usmo Dlamini, for these beautiful handcrafted earrings. And I want to thank, before we start, the Durban Botanical Gardens. Now, they are the oldest surviving gardens in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you have an event and if you just want to come and relax with your family, please make a plan to come to the Durban Botanical Gardens. And now, without wasting any time, I want to introduce our guest for today, Esohlala naye sikhulume kabanzi ngale Workers' Day. He is COSATU's KZN Provincial Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to put your hands together and help me welcome Mr. Edwin Mkhize. Yeah. Mr. Mkhize, thank you so much for joining us. So, Mr. Edwin Mkhize, unjani? Sikhona. Thank you so much for joining us on the 100% Talk Show.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
So siyayazi sonke Workers' Day, yabona. In fact, most of us siyayithanda njengoba it's a holiday, yabona. And so mhlawumbe abanye bethu abayazi kahle, and even nasi esabasebenzi mhlawumbe siyazi the history of it, mhlawumbe siyazi the relevant celebration of it. So we're going to talk about that. But singakafiki lapho sithanda ukwazi ngawe ke nje, yabo? Yes. So, Mr. Edwin Mkhize, uphuma phi nje Edwin?
Kontwana is laughing at me. It's a long history.
Yes.
In fact, you know, Edwin Mkhize, in fact, most of the people do not know me as Edwin.
Oh, yeah. That's good. You see, we like that. We like when they.
I come from Ezilali in the rural areas of Umzumbe. In fact, the old ladies, Abo Mama from that side, will know me as Ukruvi.
Okay.
Yeah, or Ufanyana. The people from the township know me as Ufanyana. This Edwin name, it's my name.
Okay.
Because my grandmother used to give all of us in the family an English name, because you know that when you go to the those schools, primary schools, they want you to have a Christian name or English name. But I'm from the working class family, the most poorest family. My mother was just a housewife. That's my background. That's where I come from.
And so now you grow up. How do you come to join COSATU now?
Okay. There is a song that they normally sing that my mother was a kitchen girl, my father was a garden boy, and that's why I'm a communist. And as well, there is a quotation they normally quote from Marx when he says that it's not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but it's their being that determines their consciousness.
Sure.
The conditions under which you were exposed to, you grew up under, they then begin to shape and inform the kind of person you are and what kind of conviction, struggle that you must associate yourself with.
Yeah,
so that's where maybe is my source of what I become as I get into COSATU, because we grew up during very difficult times of apartheid in South Africa, where people were not treated equally on the basis of race, on the basis of economy. And therefore, I felt that that system was not just, that system was not fair. And therefore, I had to be part of a struggle which is about to bring about a just and fair system for all the people of South Africa, regardless of their class, creed, or race.
What is COSATU kafushane nje? Usinike a brief overview.
Okay, COSATU is a federation of trade unions founded in 1985, or before founded as FOSATU, Federation of South African Trade Unions, then later the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, in 1985. It's a federation of trade unions. COSATU is an umbrella body of the trade unions. Under COSATU, there are trade unions. And those trade unions are the trade unions that are organizing in all sectors of the economy. But we are an organization that represents the rights, that advance the rights of the poor workers.
But asking anege manje into Workers' Day, right? What is Workers' Day? Maybe give us the history.
You know, he made Day as a Workers' Day. It goes back as far as, in fact, it's ancient. It goes back as far as the 1800s, the 19th century. 1800s, you know, during the times when you called food agriculture, early in 1800s, where workers have been working very long hours. Workers have been subjected to slavery, have been working as slaves. They took up a struggle for reduced hours of work,
right,
in the day, reduced work day hours. If you go to the history, you'll see that leaders at that time, they started by demanding 12 hours, and then some demanded...
So that means that people worked for longer than 12 hours in a day?
People at that time, they were working around 18 hours a day. Then, as part of that struggle, you will recall that there was a rally in Chicago, which was part of the May Day campaign, challenging the capitalists, challenging the masters that you cannot allow people to work so much hours. And in that rally, there were people who were killed. Then later, the what you call the Marxist International Congress convened a congress in Paris. In that congress in Paris, they were launching their successor, which was International Socialist League. In that International Socialist League, that is when May Day was adopted as a day to support the struggle of demand for 8 hours a day. And that struggle for 8 hours a day, they also used that day to support what had happened in Chicago.
Right, at that rally.
And therefore, they declared May Day as an internationalist day. Then the revolutionary parties, labor organizations of the world,
of the different countries,
of the different countries,
yes,
were then instructed that they must use May Day to demand
8 hour a day
yes,
working day.
8
I was
hour
actually,
working day,
yeah,
yes.
I'm glad you're actually going into that, because I was going to ask now, how does South Africa now then adopt? Because listening to you, it was an international movement, right?
Yes.
So how did South Africa adopt it, number one? Number two, what were some of the challenges, in South Africa adopting this international mandate?
No, exactly. You are right, because remember that South Africa at that time, South Africa was, as we have discussed it, that it was a society of a special type. A society of a special type is a society where colonialism was at height, but
Sure.
those who are colonized and the colonizers lived in the same country. But therefore, those that are colonized, the colonizers and those that are colonized, in them, what you call those who were rightist organizations, and those that were left organizations that were for human rights, fighting against what the apartheid was doing to the people of South Africa. And those who were leftist, they were linked with the international movement that was actually propagating the rights for everyone. If you go back to history, you will see that South Africa celebrated its first May Day in 1895. Then May Day became a yearly activities in South Africa, but they were at that time predominantly white. It's only 1928 when May Day was became predominantly, in fact, non-racial. There are many activities that actually form part of May Day, including the 1955, what you call the Cliptown Freedom Charter, where the trade union movement has mobilized immensely, mobilizing people of South Africa for the Freedom Charter, and moving very fast forward to the 1973 Durban strike. Because Durban strike, you cannot talk about workers without mentioning it, because we as COSATU are a product of that 1973 Durban strike. I think at that time, in terms of the government, what you call the minimum, a minimum wage, I think it was around 8.75 a week, and they demanded things like a 2 rand increase, 3 rand increase, and all that. Then there was that strike, which actually, it also raised other various issues that at that time, when we talk about the pension funds, it's only the white people who were beneficiaries in the pension funds.
Of course.
We were not. Then our people took up that strike. It was a sporadic strike. The apartheid government was actually shocked that workers can fight so much. That strike is a strike that led to the formations of the trade union and the recognition of trade unions in South Africa. On its formation, COSATU in South Africa, COSATU said, we've been celebrating these May Days. They've not been recognized. Even during the times of UDF, they were not being recognized. Remember, we had to force to have these May Days. Some companies have, like Premier Foods, have acknowledged that there is a demand for 8 hours. They began implementing those 8 hours, but in those companies, but it was not a benefit for all the workers. Then COSATU declared that they are going to take the struggle for May Day forward. They said that May Day must be made a public holiday. The first May Day that was celebrated as a public holiday, it was 1995. So May Day to us currently as Labour and as COSATU it is still about 8 hours a day. It's still about the short working hours a day so that workers do not become slaves. But there are other issues that are encompassing May Day, because we take May Day as a day of fighting against slavery and exploitation of workers in general.
Yeah.
So it means that as we see today, it's very shocking that in terms of our Labor Relations Act, which we fought hard for, 8 hours a day is there in the Labor Relations Act. But there are many still companies and organizations in which workers are not benefiting in this 8 hours a day. Workers are still working 13 hours, 14 hours. Here in our own province, workers who work more than 8 hours a day, that must be overtime. They must be paid overtime for that. So that remains our strike. But part of our main strike, even in that May CEC, we said we need to fight that all workers on May 1, May 1 is a non-trading holiday. It must be compulsory that complete shutdown, that no employer will use May 1, because that's undermining what workers have contributed in terms of the strike. But we have not achieved the living wage. Many of South Africans still do not get the living wage. What is the living wage? The living wage, it's a wage in which every citizen of South Africa can at least afford a house, can at least afford a medical aid, can at least
for basic,
basic at least afford to be part of the pension fund, so that when you retire you can live in harmony with your family. I think as a labor movement, as trade unions, as the working class of the world and even of South Africa, we need to sit down and say the poor people, the working class, is so much divided now. It's fragmented. It's fragmented because we have lost the broader perspective of what the working class is about. As I depart, I want to say that our predecessors, our heroes and heroines, moved beyond that. They said we need to unite people against the oppressive system of capitalism, so that there is no exploitation of men by men, so that people will be emancipated and people will be economically free. That is a strike that we must catch up.
Wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. We need to wrap this up. How do we get a hold of you?
We are all over.
Okay.
We are all over. I think we must say that COSATU nationally, we are on Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram. And also there is what you call a Facebook page of COSATU KZN. We're also in Twitter, we're also in Instagram.
A luta continua.
A luta continua.
That's what we say. Thank you. This was so educational.
Thank you as well for the 100% talk show. I must say that we must thank you as 100% talk show, that I should have done this in the beginning, that you inviting us, you are bringing a very important element as part of your work. We really appreciate that that you can actually provide a platform for the poor, for the working class, for the workers to come as well, express themselves. We are very much moved about that. We appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And thank you to you too, Edwin. Thank you so much for joining us each and every time. We are so honored to have you here. We hope you have learned as much as we have. Please do follow us on all our social media platforms. Here are our details on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe onto the channel so that you can see this and all other episodes that we're going to be bringing you. And please also don't forget to comment, to share, to like, to do everything so that we can actually have this robust conversation with you. As always, my name is Tembeka Vilani. Remember, I love you so much, but God loves you more. Mwah. Cheers.
Thank you.